Cafe Anyway. Welcome to Cafe Anyway. It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hey, I talked to her today. That's my cousin from Germany, Anki. And yes, it is Mike's Daily Podcast here at Cafe Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Somewhere in podCastro Valley. Excuse me while I shake the camera. That's my phone. It's part of the podcast. Now, for those of you who own a Facebook app on your phone, and you go to my Facebook page, facebook.com, Mike's Daily Podcast, and I think I'm causing things to age horribly with my talk.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I am, yes, joining all the rest of the podcasters with their video.
Mike's
even though I started
Daily
in the audio/radio
Podcast.
world of podcasting.
Yeah!
Now I must be on the video, which I do not have, nor have never had, ever had. I have never, ever had a face for television. I had a face for radio, was the joke. But now anybody that does radio or podcasting, they got to put their face on it. So I guess that joke disappeared. So video killed that radio star. Or actually, video's helped the radio star, hasn't it? But video killed the radio star meant musicians, not so much radio DJs. I guess I'm getting all deep and philosophical at the beginning of my podcast. I guess that's what I do sometimes, and I'm thinking about things and how they change and whatnot. But what you find is that I wonder if people in general listen to podcasts that they can watch first. If that's where they like to, if that's what they like to do, if they like to actually, instead of listen to it, watch it. To me, that's like paint drying, but whatever. That's great fun. Hey, speaking of which, and then there's the other thing that really made it explode, the video world explode. Wasn't so much YouTube. Yes, YouTube helped, but then there was TikTok.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And the podcast picture, I did not post this picture on TikTok, so you won't see it there. I am not on TikTok. I got kicked off TikTok because I refused to download the app. But you can see this on my wonderful website. Yes, I own a website. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. I pay money for it. I keep it up. I keep it running. And the podcast picture is there of me at the wonderful Lake Chabot, which I took the late great Basil the Boxer to many a time. We had many a fun excursion, Mike excursion there. Now, you know, they charge you a dog fee if you go there in the afternoon. And what's interesting is the dog fee hasn't changed. It's stayed $2 for the past 10 years, which is interesting. That's one of the few things in life that has not changed. But nobody was there to collect the $2, so I guess the dogs were free anyway. Cafe Anyway. But TikTok is now open to alcohol advertisers in the U.S. TikTok now allows alcohol and alcohol-branded merchandise to be advertised to anyone 25 years and older. The alcohol industry spent roughly $1.7 billion in advertising. This was in 2022.
This show is clean.
But we don't have any alcohol on this show. We have root beer at Cafe Anyway. If you'd like to join us with that fine beverage, that is not a strong one. Or we have some kombucha. The Brewmaster doesn't make the kombucha. Honestly, I don't know where the kombucha comes. Madame Rootabega makes it magically appear madly in her mad sort of way. Netflix is doing well. Their upfront ad commitments surged by 150%. Yes, people giving them money, committing to advertise on Netflix. That jumped 150% as NFL games are going to be boosting the appeal of Netflix. People love the NFL. And Squid Games, the Squid Game thing is coming back. Netflix successfully closed advertising deals with all major holding companies and independent agencies. I wonder if that also includes political advertisements. Which, by the way, when you sell a political ad, if you're some kind of media, some kind of broadcaster, some kind of publisher, some kind of big conglomerate, you have to, or local media.
Mike is on it, man.
Go where no man has gone before.
We love it, Mike.
There is a fixed rate that you can only charge, but I don't know if Netflix is, how much of that is political advertising. U.S. workers, on average, take 11 days off a year. That means it's not even a 2-week vacation. You're 1 day short. It isn't realistic for many. I was talking to my cousin in Germany. In Germany, they take lots of time off. Lots. So we get barely 2 weeks there. She said, and if I hope I heard her correctly.
This is Mike's podcast picnic.
And enjoy this wonderful picnic. I brought you some cheeses and kombucha and other fine, bizarre items of food. You ever watch those shows where, you watch a cooking channel type or a travel channel type show where they go somewhere and they're showing you the food they eat? The late Anthony Bourdain. Whatever they ate, or Zimmerman, is that guy still on? All those guys, they never eat anything healthy. It's always this horrible meat thing. It's a juicy steak. It's got to be a steak.
I got through that. I got into it.
They never eat anything. Oh, look what we did. We took some green beans. We made this amazing salad. Look what this. No, it's got to be food and fat and some kind of protein. But yes, my cousin, from what I understand, she told me that she is allowed to take 5 weeks off a year for vacation. Now, she's a teacher, so part of that is built into her profession. But wow, is what I say to that. So Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy.
When you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants.
Defected. I guess it's a show. Much like Nacho Libre. Well, that was a movie. He put on quite a show with the wrestling. Defected with his stretchy pants. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in podCastro Valley, the last place on earth, in the land of Ameritopica. He defected from Spotify to Sirius XM, and he did it for $125 million. Yes, Alex Cooper. Call Her Daddy's initial entente with Spotify, inked for $60 million in 2021.
Anyway.
Was the second, here at Café Anyway, we're telling you this interesting story, was the second biggest at the time, only behind Joe Rogan's deal. So Alex Cooper cashing in very big with his radio show. So radio still can pull in money at times. Podcasting can pull in money at times. Joe Rogan's deal, Alex Cooper's $125 million deal. There was what is that show with the guy from Will and Grace, and is it Jason Bateman and the other guy? They're doing comedy.
People get stuck on stupid. You know what I mean?
They got paid a lot for that because Spotify throws money, I guess, at people. And people do get stuck on stupid. It's true. Let's just face it. By the way, the lady that said that, there is a character. I did something yesterday. It was absolutely extraordinary. I watched the new overlay that they have done. They've revamped Splash Mountain. No longer has any Song of the South because that's too offensive to people. And now it is the Princess and the Frog characters. And the lady that shrinks you, there's a part of the ride where they shrink you down.
MTV News. You hear it first.
Oh, yes, this is going back in time to the 80s. Wasn't it in the 80s that MTV had that little thing for their news, their little news segments? And it was in the 80s that Splash Mountain started. Well, Splash Mountain is now Princess and the Frog, that whole setup. And one of the scenes in there, in the scene where you would go down the slide into this underworld where it was all like you're underground and there's little waterfalls and interesting lights and fountains. That is now you've been shrunk down into a tiny little bug type size.
Fabagoo. Things to do. Things to do.
That's the thing to do on that ride. All of a sudden, you are, as you're floating along on the Splash Mountain type log thingy, this woman that does magic, she shrinks you down. And I guess it has some kind of New Orleans voodoo type magic type thing going on. I didn't see the movie. But that lady looks exactly like the lady that years ago I recorded her saying, people get stuck on stupid. So I said that to my lovely lady friend, because I've often talked about this lady, about this person before. And I go, oh my gosh, it looks just like her. And she goes, oh, really? I go, that's what she looked like? I said, yeah. Wow.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
It's an incredible universe, isn't it? So many things to see. And hey, so yesterday I did get sidetracked. What a surprise on the podcast. As I was discussing someone, speaking of Disney animation and all that sort of thing, that used to do 2D animation, this guy that I know, who's done a segment on the show called Welsh on the World, the reason why I was talking about him was because of startups. And he was actually part of a startup, a company that wanted to make an app for your phone. This was about 10 years ago. We go back in time, magnify time, etc. And you would take this app and you would do like a little game. And when you finish this little game, whatever it be, like moving a dot by moving your phone back and forth, something like that, it would open up a little cartoon that would play and a comic. Actually, was it a comic or an animated cartoon? No, it was just a comic. And he drew the comic for that and animated it and tried to figure it all in to this app. Well, that startup lasted about a week, but he worked for about a year on it. When they launched it, nothing, crickets. So, but they did make some really neat bags, tote bags that had the logo for the app.
The Royal Trump Tweet Decree.
That were very interesting. Tweeting away. Oh. He's been saying people are picking on him too much. What a surprise. That's been his little... No, he doesn't so much tweet as he truth socials, because that's what he owns. And oh my gosh, the media, they beat him up so much. They talk about how his stock is going down, and why don't they just leave him alone? There. Did that appeal to some of my audience? Maybe not. By saying that. So... Anyway, Café Anyway, the point was that we were talking about how startups are...
The Republicans continue to point to San Francisco, but at the end of the day, oftentimes they are picking up their iPhone, which was introduced in San Francisco, calling their Ubers or Lyft, companies started and based in San Francisco, to go to their Airbnb company still and started in San Francisco, and then to go and tweet something nasty about our city, which again was a company until recently in San Francisco. $34 billion of venture capitalist investment last year alone, the AI capital of the world. That's what I will say. You can continue to try and put out a narrative, but the facts tell a different story.
There you go. That's Mayor London Breed from San Francisco. Stop putting down San Francisco. Yes, it's got crime. It's horrible. London's got to work on that more. And yes, X left. Twitter left, but that's because Elon Musk owns it, and he wanted to get the heck out of there anyway. He does not at all work with the whole San Francisco vibe anymore. So what the heck? Anyway, so startups aren't doing as well, though. That's true. A lot of startups that did begin in San Francisco.
Bans mutations.
Launched a lot of things, mutated into a lot of things that we all use today that we should not take for granted. And everybody puts down San Francisco, but at the same time, it's the stuff that the technology that they're using to make fun and put down San Francisco is what they're using. So shut up. Is basically what we're saying over here in the Bay Area. But yeah, it always blew my mind that all these people complaining, before Elon Musk owned Twitter. Oh my gosh, they closed down my account because I said this on Twitter. How dare they? Twitter doesn't owe you anything. Twitter's a company trying to make money. If they don't like what they don't like pretty much what you say, they can say goodbye to you. Now they won't because I got Elon Musk and everybody loves that. And they changed it into X. But then all the people that were really conservative, real right-wingers said X. Oh, what's X mean? Oh, is he going to put porn on there now? What? So that's, anyway, right-wingers, left-wingers. It's an interesting mix this year, isn't it? So startups are not doing as well, though. That is true.
As you know, there's a real scary holiday coming up.
Labor Day. For all those people that are working hard at their startup that's now folding. But hey, there's a happy story to the guy, the Welsh guy that I was mentioning that does the drawing. He is now working for Intel. Or is it? Yeah, which they have had their own problems lately, as you know. Lots of people got let go. He did not get let go, as far as I know. So I guess it is a happy ending. We'll see. But we'll stick around. Things get interesting later. Consumers are putting off home improvement projects. The only thing Americans are buying at home improvement stores now are flying saucers. No, not that. But 12-foot tall skeletons is what they're buying. Spending on remodeling dropped for the first time in a decade. Lowe's and Home Depot share underwhelming results. Lowe's and Home Depot. As DIYers hold off on costly home makeovers, they're not doing so well. Lowe's and Home Depot. DIY customers make up 75% of the business for Lowe's. And those DIY customers are saying Jarrell Name, and they're sitting off on the sidelines. Owners tend to spend the most on upgrades within the first 3 years of buying their home. So I have had my home now for 15 years, just about. And I did a couple upgrades within the first 3 years, and then I just gave up. Let me just tell you now, there is so much left to do with my house. So much to do. If I had a honey-do list, which that list got torn up once I got divorced, because that honey-do person putting the honey-do demands left, then that list just got torn up and those projects got put off to the side. Now we have a bunch of workarounds at my house. My house is cafe work.
I've just been announced as a VP nominee. I gave my big speech and I saw my wife and I gave her a big hug and a kiss because I love my wife and I think that's what a normal person does. Tim Waltz gave his wife a nice, firm Midwestern handshake and then tried to sort of awkwardly correct for it. So I think that what it is two people, Kamala Harris and Tim Waltz, who aren't comfortable in their own skin because they aren't comfortable with their policy positions for the American people. And so they're name calling instead of actually telling the American people how they're going to make their lives better. I think that's weird, Dana, but look, they can call me whatever they want to.
You're saying Tim Walz doesn't have affection for his wife? I don't even understand that.
I said that he acted weird, which he did, on a national stage in front of his wife.
He shook his wife's hand. How dare he? But meanwhile, JD gave his wife a hug and a kiss. So they're who knows what they're doing behind the scenes. Woo! Hug and a kiss. Whereas Tim and his wife, that's what this election's come down to. What's going on with those two? Huh? Is it going to be like the weird, awkward Al Gore, Tipper Gore hug, kiss thing? Whatever that was. And then JD Vance saying, oh, but, they're just calling me names and stuff. That's all wrong. Meanwhile, what's he doing? Magnification. That was a beautiful 40 seconds of every possible contradiction that could be said in a little soundbite. JD's got to work on his sound bites, man. It's not the media picking on him. It's the fact that he says it. He says it. You hear it. It goes into your brain. You go, what? What? How? Who? Huh? Like this guy's putting down the Democrats here by saying, the Democrats have become a parody of themselves. The 2024 Democratic National Convention, it is as if some kind of comedy writer wrote this all up. Only this isn't a comedy script. They also have a giant inflatable. I'll just say contraceptive device connected to the convention. Seriously. So yes. Republicans having fun making fun of the Democrats. Now, that wasn't the Democrat donkey. That was Nelly the horse. Look who's here. Hi, Mike. It's the rodeo queen. How y'all doing? You almost sound like you're about to say Madame Rootabega. I might have just about said that too. I don't know why. I'm all confused. Welcome to Café Anyway. Not Cafe Workaround, which is my house. This is Café Anyway. Oh, look who else is here.
Hey, Mark, yeah, it's absolutely appalling what's going on at that convention right now. It's all kinds of hedonism and hoo-haism, and I don't like it, what's going on there in Chicago. Now, well, we had our big old Republican convention. We had Hulk Hogan. We had Kid Rock. We had people of integrity. And then we had a big old neon super bright sign that said Trump so people wouldn't forget who we was having there at the convention, Mark. So Democrats should have been watching what we was doing. And who the heck is this Beyonce?
Ooh, don't even ask that question. Let me pour you a root beer and educate you on what's been going on the past 20 years. So, you didn't even see Austin Powers, the third one? And Foxy Cleopatra. She was fantastic in that as well. Look who's here!
Oh, Mike, I make delicious root beer. Did you drink some of it already?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I had the kombucha.
Drink it right now, can't you?
I'd rather have the kombucha. It's healthier. Oh, he stormed off. All right, so whatever. Cafe Anyway. It's been the fact that we have less people working on home improvements is what we found out today. Overall spending on home improvements will fall to about $450 billion this year. That is it's a 7% drop. It's not like a 70% drop, but transactions over $1,000 were down by 6%. It's not 60%, it's just 6%. Fewer housewarming parties also mean fewer new couches, new tables. And then Wayfair, they sell all that furniture online, recently said that its furniture sales have taken a nosedive because people just don't want to do any improvements. They want to calm down.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline.
What do you think?
Area code 510-228-4640.
And also things are freaking expensive. And also, gosh, and in Canada, this is something I just saw from the Canadian news channel. Is it CNC? What is their Canadian CNBC? No. Whatever the Canadian big channel is, their news channel. They were talking about how there are all these buildings that were built, these big condos in the cities like Ontario, and they were never finished because they were condos. They sold the condos before COVID. They didn't finish the condos because the people that bought the condos were buying it for 2020 prices. And now the prices have skyrocketed 50% and more for all the supplies and the utilities and everything to make the building. So then they go bankrupt and they can't finish it. And what's fascinating is with all this talk about how we need more places to live, there are no places to live. There's more and more people. We talked about this last podcast. There's more and more people, but not anywhere for them to live. Well, some of that is not true. There are places built. They just haven't been completed, and they can't let people into them because otherwise they're not going to get their money back. It makes no sense. It's crazy. So should we all become squatters? Yeah, no. That's a bad thing too. That leads eventually to something we can all say is a word that rhymes with Mizzes. But enough of this wonderful exploration into how things are built and not lived in and all other stuff. If you would like to find out more about this podcast, let's go to the mainframe and hear all about that from the wonderful A-Frame. Thanks for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.